Today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we are discussing WandaVision Season 1, Episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall.
Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I'm Jeff Randall.
Jeff Randall, let's talk about Episode 7 of WandaVision. How about it, buddy?
Can we mention, though, first, our producer,
I was about
Matthew
to do
Fox?
that. I was about to do that. I was just expressing how excited I was.
Oh, yeah.
I
completely forgot to talk about anybody else because this episode is so freaking exciting.
Yeah, dude. But before we do that, let's introduce our producer, Matthew Fox. How you doing, Matthew Fox?
I'm good. It's Agatha all along. I'm excited.
Agatha all along. Spoiler alert, everybody.
Spoilers.
Agatha all along. Agatha. Okay.
I knew it. I knew it. I told you. We'll talk about it. Save it for the cast.
This is the cast.
You don't have to save it anymore.
I don't have to hold it in anymore. I can just say it.
Let it go. Agatha.
Mephisto confirmed.
Okay, Mephisto likely. At least some connection to Mephisto likely.
Oh yeah.
It seems like this is Agatha, and I doubt they're gonna go. Honestly, I doubt they're gonna go beyond Agatha here. I think we'll get some hint that Agatha is doing this for someone else, maybe, but I don't think we're getting Mephisto proper. I think this was the turn. This was the villain turn, right?
This was the villain turn. I don't think that we're going to see that Agatha was doing something for anyone other than herself. I think that we're going to see that Mephisto just kind of like saw an opportunity and jumped on it.
The way I understood it from comics, which, is that Agatha Harkness kind of works for Mephisto to get this done. Is that not the case kind of in comics?
Not directly, not really, not all the time.
Okay.
Like when she helped get the pieces of his soul back together, it was because putting his soul back together would like fuse him with the kid's soul, but it was like he was part of the kids as well as part of Master Pandemonium. It was a really weird comic, but basically she turned off Wanda's memories of the kids, and when Wanda forgot about the kids, they no longer existed, which made Mephisto kind of blink out of existence. It was weird.
So it was almost like to get out of Mephisto, to take down Mephisto. Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah. So I misunderstood that. I'd heard that I thought she was like a servant of Mephisto, but that makes all of this. Why does she want to do this? What is she doing? Does she have the kids already? It looks like she's already absconded with the kids. And man, what about the turn from sitcom to horror show?
Right?
Somebody in the chat, and if you're in the chat now, please, we did the live watch this morning, and somebody in the live watch said, this house reminds me of American Horror Stories before all the turn happened. And I was like, yep, this is so America Horror Stories. Like, this is
Westview Horror Story.
Yeah, it was super cool when they did that turn. It was absolutely Westview Horror Stories.
Yeah. And when Wanda went into the basement, like looking for the boys, and like she happened upon the secret tunnel.
Yeah.
in the basement into like the secret chamber. Like, it was so creepy. I was like, I don't want the sex dungeon. I hate it.
I was like, I think I like this place. No, I was, the truth was, I was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much to speculate about, and there's so many freeze frames to be had this week. Like, getting in there, there's all these symbols over the doors, which I haven't had a chance to look. I mean, we literally watched this and then are talking about it. You watched it at 2 a.m. I don't know if you've done any research yet, but there's like all these symbols over the doorways in this little secret area, and there was a book
that looked like it was either pulling in or emanating energy,
and it was that purple energy, right?
The book didn't have the purple energy, but but Agatha used purple energy.
Also, this is, if you didn't catch it, there was a mid-credit sequence, which I almost missed during our live watch. I was like, all right, let's jump back to the beginning, because they haven't done any mid or post-credit sequence yet. This is the first time. There was a mid-credit sequence that showed, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, Pietro coming upon Monica, who's trying to, who Monica finds the staircase down to the lair, to Agatha's lair, or what it looked like to me was like the different doorways to me felt like it was a multi-dimensional, like these are different doorways to different dimensions, which I mean, multiverse confirmed. Obviously, we already have the multiverse confirmed with
Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
Doctor Strange in general. I mean, the sort of multiverse that he uses, but the sort of multiverse we're talking about, Pietro being pulled from. And so what do you think? What do you think is going on with Quicksilver?
I don't know. Actually, thinking on it, I'm pretty sure that Quicksilver is never seen at the same time that Senor Scratchy is seen. So,
okay,
like in comics, Agatha Harkness's son is Nicholas Scratch is his name. So it may be that she is converting him or converting Senor Scratchy or whatever, like into this kind of servant that Pietro, or that, you know, has the face of Pietro.
Okay, I think it's Fox versus Pietro.
You think she went and grabbed him and then brought him here? Because
there, you see the tunnels. I think that it's absolutely possible that she has access to the multiverse from those tunnels, and that she pulled him in, and all these things he's been saying to like manipulate or that seem dark. If you notice at the end when he approaches her at the door in the very beginning, he is being controlled by Agatha. Yeah, you know, like it's the purple energy is on his back, which is showing that Agatha's controlling him all along. It was Agatha all along. And then even in that last moment when he's confronting Monica, who finds the staircase in the post-credit sequence, that purple energy is covering his back. So I think that people are going to see that and go, he's Mephisto, which is, or he's another bad guy, which is what a lot of people have been speculating to begin with. But that purple energy on him makes me think he's being controlled, which makes me think he's an innocent bystander who's being controlled by Agatha.
You know, it's possible, but I see it as like a skin being wrapped over another person, and the purple energy at the back is like kind of the rubber band holding it all cinched there.
Like a suture.
Yeah, like cinched there at the back, and like when she lets it go, it goes bleh, and
he's scratchy.
You know, he becomes a bunny again or whatever. Okay. Or another person.
That is absolutely possible that he's like her familiar or something.
Yeah. Something else to throw in here from the chat. A couple people are saying, particularly Captain McD, that it's possible that Agatha put a spell on him, but that when Wanda blasted him last week, that broke the spell.
Maybe, but I mean, like Matt was saying, when he shows up, Snooper's going to snoop. He's got the energy on his back.
Yeah, the very end of the episode.
She put it back. So I'm seeing a word that kind of ties into this. I'm seeing a word in chat that, if you remember the commercial, seemed to be very red and reality based. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, goes in with the all the stones theory that people were going with, but the medicine was called Nexus, and we've said before, like Ashley pointed out, Wanda is a Nexus being
in comics. In comics, there's something called a Nexus being, which means they look the same across all universes, right?
They're kind of an anchor for that particular reality. They can't go to other multiverses. They can only project themselves like an astral projection kind of thing.
Okay,
but they're kind of the anchor for all mystical energies in that particular verse. But there's another thing called the Nexus of All Realities, or I think it's Nexus of All Reality, or something like that, where Man-Thing lives.
Okay.
But it's kind of like it's like a convergence point where you can get to any reality, any verse in the multiverse from that point. And I think that might be what has been created here. Is a place where all verses intersect at this one spot.
Okay. Yeah, and that's like the idea of a nexus in anything. That's what that is, like just a connection point. Okay. So what I mean, we haven't talked about Vision at all, the vision of it all. I liked his little side story of just trying to get back to Wanda. This episode was just a lot of fun. I liked Darcy. I really wanted Darcy to use... Like, she's been watching the show. I really wanted her to like do things that like showed that she understood the TV logic of it all. Like, I kept watching it and being like, I wanted her to, and they didn't go there, but like, you've been watching this show. I wanted her to be able to like, oh no, you can just do this and he'll go away. Or like, Oh, because that's the end of the scene, right? Like that's when that person goes away, or like whatever. Like I wanted her to like get rid of the strong man with some sort of TV logic that doesn't really work, you know. But she just punched him and then ran away. Like I really wanted like some sort of clever meta thing, but they didn't do that.
Well, that strongman was the guy that was like, make your assessment, please, like that she was messing with when she first showed up. So I feel like she wanted to punch him the entire time and finally got to.
I gotcha. That's funny.
So I probably would have done the same thing because he had that kind of face that kind of needed just punching.
Punchable face? Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, he had a real punchable face.
Okay, so but I just thought the whole sequence was great. It's actually just super interesting, the like juxtaposition of the real pain that Wanda has gone through and that like description of all that real pain to Vision, and also the relationship between Vision and Darcy. As she says, I'm a STEM girl. I thought she just switched you on. So like she has this view of Vision as he's just a robot. You know what I mean? Like
he's just a drone.
Yeah. As she's expressing to him like all this stuff that he has gone through and like reminding him of all this pain and telling him what Wanda's been through, she doesn't really have much sympathy, it seems like, for him. And like she's sort of like explaining it matter of factly, and it kind of made me think like she doesn't have the same sort of empathy for him as a robot, and I think maybe that will change, and maybe it already is changing.
I think there's another thing there, which is that we've often talked about Darcy as the audience insert character, and for the most part, the MCU has been fairly like science-y. You know, like Thor's not a god; he's an alien. Like and we already did somewhat with Doctor Strange, but this show is really opening the doors on the mystical, on the magical. And so to me, that was her kind of saying, like, the MCU has been very STEM, like there's a scientific explanation for everything, and now we're getting away from that. Yeah,
I absolutely think that's right. But I think the way that is manifesting for her character is that first conversation with Vision, she's like, I'm talking to a robot. But then she's I'm a STEM girl. And then she's like, but there's a little bit of like something else, something that I can't explain is going on here. And she's like sort of realizing that and learning that truth. And I think that's absolutely fascinating. And I'm just loving that idea. And then I love her as you mentioned, the audience, Fox, the sort of audience point of view character as this shifts, as she meets witches, which is apparently what's happening. Because what did Agatha call herself? She's like, you're not the only
magical girl.
You're not the only magical girl. So that she is stating.
So Sailor Moon confirmed.
She is stating that it's magic. This is like the first time someone said this is magic. I mean, other than like science that you like just can't understand. This seems like she is doing a much more traditional style of magic here. And also, I find it interesting because Wanda has created this world and clearly she's lost a little control of it. And to me, it seems like probably because she expanded her powers too far. She's like worked. She's just doing things without even realizing she's doing them.
Yeah, I took it as she's just exhausted.
That
and
too, yeah.
Is like fed up with it. Like, I just don't want to deal with it for a day. Can't you all just run yourselves? Like, I just want to take a day for me and just sit and eat my cereal, eat my Sugar Snaps cereal. And like when she opened the fridge, oh my God, when she opened the fridge to get the milk and I saw like juice, milk, coffee, juice, drink, soda, drink, just a fridge full of drinks. I was like, yeah, I also have 2 kids. That's exactly
it. I took it as she was expanded the hex so much and she's lost some control. So like all that stuff's glitching, right? But in the glitching, she starts to like sort of like figure out her powers. Like when she sits down on the couch and starts to like actually intentionally shift everything from time periods, she's like gaining some semblance of her power. She's like understanding it more for the first time. Because the only thing we've seen her consciously do up till now is mind control people and throw things, right? Like we haven't actually seen her intentionally change reality as she did in this episode.
Well, yeah, they said that in what was it, episode 5, where they were saying that like Wu and Darcy and Monica were saying she's only ever been seen to have telepathic and telekinetic ability. Like if she's creating things in reality and like changing reality around her, she's dealing with a lot more power than she's ever displayed before.
Yeah, 100%.
And like, I mean, all of that is just being confirmed in front of us. Like we see her do the thing and like change reality right in front of her when nobody else is around because, you know, nobody's watching her do it. She can just be like, now it's this. And like, she acknowledges in the interview at the very beginning of the episode, she acknowledges in the interview at the very beginning of the episode where she says, the false reality you created for yourself. She acknowledges that this is all her doing as far as like creating this reality, or at least she thinks that it's all her doing. And that she's in control of it, where like before she was lying to Vision and she said, I don't know how this even happened. Or, you know, when she was like just trying to convince him, like I'm in control, but didn't want to tell him how in control she was. Like at this point, she's just embraced it in front of us, the audience.
Right.
But nobody else in the show was around.
But I also think that she doesn't fully understand that until this moment. Like, I think maybe she was being honest with Vision that she doesn't know how it started. And she knows she has some sort of power here, but like the glitching, I think she started to like actually see that she could change things. I mean, we've seen her change things before, but it seemed like a little more subconscious. Like when she yells no and everything rewinds, it's like, no, I don't want this to happen. And it's like, she's having a lot of subconscious control. And I mean, Vision calls that out a couple episodes ago, calls it subconscious. She's like, your subconscious created this world. And I think that's what's going on here. And now she's getting the chance to make the decision because she's finally has some agency in the situation. And she starts to seem to be convinced by Monica, and then Agatha steps in.
Oh, but it was so, like, she might have been about to be convinced by Monica, but she also, like, she was kind of bucking at the idea of being a hero still.
Oh,
like when Monica said, don't let him make you the villain. And she was like,
what if I already am?
What if I already am? And I'm like, oh,
that's
shit.
Such a good line. It's so good. Just to get back to the witches real quick before we get to Monica, which is also a freaking awesome scene. The thing that interests me about this is like, she seems to be a witch who is, you know, or a magical girl, as she said, who has expanded beyond her reach of her power. She's gone too far. She can't get full control of the situation. And she is not even understanding her power that she has. Whereas Agatha knows she may not be as powerful as Wanda. At least in comics, that's the case, I think. But she knows her power well, clearly. And she's very deliberate with it. And she is only controlling a few elements. So it's like this difference of like this person who is pure power and pure like instinct almost in the power she's using. And then Agatha manipulating her with just a few key elements that she's able to control and very deliberately control and be very almost surgical with her precision. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's experience versus raw talent.
Exactly.
Going in there.
Which I find that pretty fascinating.
You know, I don't know that they're going to go this way, but in comics, Agatha trained Wanda in how to use her magic. Like she basically took on the parental figure role for her, and like even said in one scene, like in all the time that I've been spending training her, I look at her as my daughter now. So like I don't know if they're going to go that route because of, you know, the way that she looks in this moment to be very much a villain. But
yeah, well, that's the thing. So did Wanda 3 episodes ago, and now it seems like Wanda's not in control. So if there's a greater force behind Agatha pushing her to do these things, it's very possible that we'll get to the point where we understand Agatha's perspective, just like we understood Wanda's here, and we go, okay, maybe Agatha is doing all these things for a reason. Maybe there is a greater force coming for our universe, and she needed to do this. Maybe this is training Wanda. Maybe this whole thing, she is making Wanda use her powers, and now Wanda's starting to control them. And then let's say
all of this was for you.
Some ethereal creature or character, some
multidimensional demon.
Some multidimensional demon I don't know who shows up, and then
Nightmare.
Right, any of them, and then she needs someone more powerful enough to stop him. And like Agatha saw that, and maybe this is all a training simulation for Wanda to like learn to use her reality bending powers.
I mean, innocent people getting hurt while Wanda is training is not something new. So
True.
Ouch.
And we have had Lagos brought up.
Legis. But yes.
Legis.
Not your fault. It's Marvel's fault.
It's Marvel's fault. Yeah. But it's not just innocent people, though. Like, she killed Sparky. Agnes killed Sparky.
Yeah, it's definitely that, like, Agatha is bad right now, but I love that sort of villain where, you know, they're bad, but then you get their perspective and you go, but maybe they're bad for a reason. Like maybe their badness has all the potential that they want to like fix a problem, or like we mentioned, if there's an interdimensional being coming for the world, is it so bad to control a city and like kill a dog and whatever you got to do if you can to save an entire universe? You know, like
yes,
maybe. I mean, yes, it is, but also understandable, and it's a decision. I mean, I would make that decision if I had a like legitimate reason to understand that killing a dog would save the universe. I'd have to make that decision. That's like you know, that's the right thing to do.
It's a tough decision to make, but
I don't want to do it. I don't want to get into dogs. I will cry if I start talking about killing dogs.
I was gonna say, like, we hear some barking in the background pretty soon.
Yeah, no,
right.
I will.
Like, would you sacrifice Quill with a rusty dagger if it helped to save the universe?
That's not okay. I just having even if it's best for the dog, like I've had to put down dogs before and I still can't. That moment of my life is like a hard moment to think back on for the ethical reasons. Like I know intellectually that needs to happen, and it's still like really hard to do and hard to make that decision for another being, you know. It's tough. Not to make it too real, but it's tough, okay? I've been really weepy lately. This is just bad.
Well, let's bring it back to happiness.
Right. The death and destruction and demonic stuff on WandaVision. Happiness. Monica. We haven't talked about Monica. She's got powers.
She's got powers.
That seemingly can stand up to Wanda. Wanda tried to slam her on the ground, and she did the superhero land. That was freaking awesome.
And she had, like, it looked like she absorbed the energy from it, or, like, either that or, like, converted part of herself into energy, like her power set is in the comics. Like,
I don't know anything about herself in the comics, but, man, that was cool. Yeah,
I'm not sure what actually happened, like as far as like what the sciencey explanation is behind it, but she's got powers.
Yeah,
the thing
she
is, like,
definitely has powers.
The question is, like, does she know that she has powers, or does she just think that like something weird is happening to her?
She seems to be figuring it out. Like that superhero land, it seemed pretty deliberate, and again, just like Wanda, it could be subconscious. Let me bring this up, and it's a negative. As much as I love this show so far, and I really like Wanda as a character, I like Monica as a character, something we've talked a lot about with Wanda and Captain Marvel in particular, and Vision, if we're being honest, we've talked about it a little bit. Like, all three of these characters are characters that seem to have powers, but we don't fully understand them.
Yeah.
And we've talked about in the past how that makes storytelling difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes like,
because you have no clearly defined limits.
Yes. So like, how can I ever feel when Peter Parker is trapped under rubble and he's trying to lift the rubble, and I can tell it's hard in Homecoming? That scene is amazing, and it's because he is trying to overcome a level of strength that he just barely can do. You know what I mean? Like he's
right.
Like, I can barely get through this. And I understand at that moment, that is the limit of his power, and he's pushing himself to reach it. And it's really hard. And with Wanda, her power set, and with right now, Monica's power set and with Vision with his power set, like they're all very like, we do what we want to do. And it gets very plot convenient from time to time. I mean, Vision's at least a little bit defined with like vibranium is hard. We know that. We know he can fly. We know he's strong.
Right.
Wanda particularly is just like all over. I have no idea what her power set is. Like, I think we're going to learn it. I hope. My point is, I hope they define it. That's all I'm saying, I guess.
Honestly, I don't even think that Wanda knows like what her full power set is, and I think we're discovering that together. You know, this is a journey, Matt.
Yeah, I guess I'm excited because it feels like this show is exploring the idea that we don't know, that she doesn't know, and I guess that in itself is an interesting story. If that's the story they're telling. But if you're telling a story about two forces going against each other and they're just having a fist fight, and then you have this character that can just do lots of stuff and you don't know, it's really hard to feel the stakes of that. But if you're telling a story about Wanda as a character, understanding her powers, that's a perfect way to tackle this character. So I guess I'm excited, but I also want some definition for her and for Monica and for Vision.
You know, that same kind of feeling of like, you know, I'm almost mad at them, kind of uneasy, but in the end, I'm really satisfied with the show is what that's what I felt in the beginning when she was saying to the kids, like, I don't have any answers. Like you look to me because I'm supposed to have all the answers. And she's like, I don't have any answers.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm starting to think that all of this is meaningless. I'm like, don't you do this to me, Marvel. Stop it.
So good. That was so good. I like as a sitcom scene, that was great and hilarious. Like the idea of the mom being like, I know, but I'm just starting to think all of this is meaningless. And she like goes to the camera. Was that too dark? I think they'll be fine.
Look, yeah, like, was that too much?
There's a child psychologist somewhere in Westview who just figured out how to put their kids through college. Like, that's an industry we have to support, okay?
Yep, exactly. Like, the kids being told that and her, like, saying that in the sitcom sense is really funny. But also, I felt like we were the kids and Marvel was Wanda. Like, it doesn't have any meaning. And we're like, no, but there has to be.
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting way to view it. Huh. All right. Well, do we want to get to the chat now? See what everybody else is saying?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
All right. I'm sure there's lots more to say.
There's so much to like geek out about in this episode.
For sure.
Oh, did you notice whenever they looked from the outside, like farther back from the hex, because like all we have seen of the outside of the hex is like right up against it, like it's just been a wall,
right? And
then the top down view from on the screens or whatever, like it looks like it's hexagonally shaped, but we saw it from very far away in this episode, and it looked more like a. It looked like almost like a die, like a D12. Like it had many faces to it. There was a top to it, and there were pieces that were geometrically unique.
Right. So
yeah,
like a 20-sided die or something.
No, like a 12. Actually, yeah. Top down view on a D12
is a hex.
Is a hex. Yeah, is a hexagon.
Okay.
And that's what it looked like. Holy crap.
That's cool. Good visual aid.
Yeah.
good D&D player. You have your
yeah, got my dice right
here.
Die.
It's like which one's a hex? It's the 12-sided. I got it.
Yep. When I saw it, I was like, is that a D12? Is that the randomness of her power like being made manifest there? Because chaos magic is random, right?
Right. I like it.
Dice rolling is not actually random, but yes, that's a whole other story.
No, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 100% random.
All right, we ready to dive into some feedback?
Let's do it.
Let's get Fox on the screen here. Fox, welcome.
Wait. Let me redo my hair. Okay, now I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, now
you're always pretty, man. You're always pretty.
Mwah, thank you, love. Anyway. All right. So first of all, we have a great comment from Christy Hess. She just wanted to give a shout out to the two of you, to all the folks, for all the hard work and effort they put into the effort for us. You all are totally open to our crazy theories, off-the-wall questions, and so much more without any judgment. I feel totally seen and welcomed to the community. Thanks for everything. This show is such an incredible experience with all of you. And a lot of people in the chat, especially Matt, while you were out, were just saying like how great this is and how much they appreciate it. So I just wanted to read off what Christy said and let you all know how thankful people are.
Yeah, the live watch community has been just freaking awesome. I'm so glad we were able to do this, and I'm appreciative to all of you. I'm appreciative to Marvel for setting it up this way. That like now we just have a set time every week where we like can all gather around a thing. I've never watched a show with this many friends and we're like throwing out ideas and stuff. This is just like is a dream come true. It's like fandom. You know, I don't know, realized in this really fun and communal way. So I freaking agree with you, Christy. Thank you.
It's so the much. Church of the MCU.
Definitely.
It's a set time. yeah. It's a set time every week.
Right.
And
again,
we all show up for it to be excited and fellowship with each other.
I said it before we started, but this is the most cultish we've ever sounded.
Yeah. It's not a cult. It's not a cult. Anyway,
and the Patreon is the collection plate.
The Patreon is the collection plate. Just say before we move along, if you want to join that, a lot more people listen to this than are on the live watch. Go to strandedpanda.com/MCUcast and it explains how to do the scener and join in on the live watches and join in at twitch.tv/strandedpandatv for these live podcasts where right now everyone's chatting. There's like 60 people chatting in the chat and throwing out their feedback and that's what Matthew Fox is doing, and he's going to let us know what is going on there. What else you got, Matthew?
Okay, so we have a lot of thoughts about Agatha. The boss mama says it was 100% Agatha stopping Darcy and Vision from coming home, right? Wanda wanted Vision home, but thought he didn't want to come home. Am I the only one who thinks that?
Oh yeah, she said like if he doesn't want to be here, there's nothing I can do about it. And I'm like 2 episodes ago, you said you specifically said that you could control him like you could control the others.
Yes, she did. And I think another symbol of that is like the very first thing that happens in this episode. And now that she says that, that's beautiful, great call, because the very first thing that happens in this episode is she rolls over and reaches for Vision in the bed and he's not there. So she definitely wants him there. So the idea that they're coming into town and keep being stopped is absolutely evidence that somebody else was doing this. And I didn't see it until now. But that's the beauty of this episode is that it is all pointing to Agatha and Agnes being the big bad or like being the bad of this episode. That's beautiful. Great call. You're absolutely right. I think that's absolutely what was going on.
Oh man, that opens up so much that we were saying about like Agnes or Agatha was trying to kind of drive a wedge between Wanda and Vision to kind of get Vision out of the picture. Like to drive Vision away so that she could focus on Wanda. Oh man, there's so much darkness there that we're going to have to explore. We got to go back and watch the whole series over again just so we can like point out all the individual parts where Agnes shows up to be a jerk.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have been all along. That's what's so beautiful is having kind of knowing that was what was going on. And assuming that it was a possibility. It's one of the theories we've been working off of all this time that Agnes was somehow working on things. So we know we can think back on all the times she like brought dinner and did all this stuff. She's trying to keep this little universe going, keep this little Westview going for whatever reason she is for the children. I'm guessing
for the children.
Yeah. So I'm really fascinated now. Now we know she's controlling Pietro. Who else is she controlling? Is she controlling a lot of Westview? Or is she just controlling Pietro and a few other elements? This
is a question a number of people asked in chat, and I also had. Do we know that she is actually like controlling Pietro, or just that she sort of like put him into the maze and like set him off?
Well, when he was at the door before the Halloween episode in the 80s episode, when he showed up as Uncle Jesse. We saw it in this episode, like she was in the background having a picnic on their lawn in a weird way. Right. and was like the purple stuff was on his back.
Yeah.
Like she was in the moment doing something to either control him or to make him present as Pietro.
She's definitely a part of whatever's going on there. Like I don't think she just set him there and let him go. either she's working with someone who is appearing as Pietro, and she's using her power to like as Jeff said, manifest him, or she is actively controlling a version of Pietro that she grabbed from the multiverse or something, which is my favorite theory. I just want that to be true. That's a little bit of wishful thinking, I admit.
Now, a couple of people have gone...
touch of a long shot.
A few folks have gone in another direction. Mama Hale wrote, and a few other folks said things like this. I'm not convinced that Agatha is the big bad. Why would she tell Wanda to go to the basement? Which a couple other people asked about. In the comics, Agatha's not a villain. She left the Salem 7 before they thought the Fantastic Four, and she did not help Mephisto take the kids. She wiped Wanda's memory after Mephisto absorbed them to help her deal with the trauma. So this is kind of going to what you all were talking about, that maybe Agatha is kind of like morally gray, but doing this to fight something bigger and badder.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like the situation in the comics where she like retrieved the other two parts of the soul of Mephisto's soul, like Pandemonium had already absorbed the children. And so Agatha saw no other way out other than to get the other two parts of the soul, complete Mephisto, and then link with Wanda's mind and make her forget the kids. And that kind of it made Mephisto just kind of suck into himself and disappear.
You just said Pandemonium?
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? I've been bringing it up every time. I was going to avoid it that time because I'd just been like, yeah, Pandemonium.
So
Pandemonium.
So the two questions that come out of this are: why does Agatha suggest Wanda go down to the basement, and what happened to the kids?
And what was all of that stuff in the basement?
Yeah,
like that was very much. I mean, that looked like in Doctor Strange when he goes to like the where the Eye of Agamotto is, and like there's all the doors to the other sanctums and everything. Like it looked a lot like that. Like there could be doors to other realities there, or that was like her little, her witchy space kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And, like I got to go back and watch again over and over to see what all is in there, because there was just so much stuff to absorb in there. Like my eyeballs need more time to take all this in.
This is like a frame for frame moment. Like we should pull it up and do a YouTube video where we just go frame by frame and try to look at everything.
Right.
I really loved. I was worried when Agatha, if Agatha became the bad or a bad or whatever. I do think it seems like she's possibly morally gray in some way. Like this may be leading to, as we all thought, Multiverse of Madness, where she is getting Wanda ready for whatever she needs to do in Multiverse of Madness. I think that's a really good theory. But I thought if Agatha turns out to be responsible for so much of this stuff, if Agnes turns out to be Agatha Harkness, then like I was scared that it was going to feel trite because we've all expected it for so long. Mm-hmm. But it didn't feel trite at all. And it was mostly because of the execution. That Agatha song, I've loved so much of this show. This show is practically a musical. Like they've done so many cool little songs, and the Agatha song was so good. It being her all along though, and her like glinting at the camera, breaking the fourth wall during that entire portion is so much fun. It's just like a really, really fun moment. I was like grinning from ear to ear. I was scared when it happened. I'd be like, oh, of course it's Agnes, ba da 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 da. Everyone's been saying it since the first episode. I was hoping they would subvert my expectations, but instead they fulfilled those expectations, but did it in such a good way and such a stylistic way that I absolutely loved it.
Yep. And like looking at it in the part where she goes down, where Wanda goes down into Agnes's basement, and we get the whole reveal of it being Agatha. Like all of that felt very horror themed. Like it was really suspenseful and scary. And like we've been told, or it's been reported or whatever, that Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness is going to be a horror movie. It's like the first MCU horror film, and it's going to lead straight off of this. And I've kind of been worried, like, horror doesn't seem to kind of fit necessarily in the way that the genres have, or the MCU has been thus far.
Sure.
There's a little bit concerned about that, but like after seeing this, I'm fully on board. Like this feel in a film for like 2.5 hours would be just killer. Oh my God, it would be so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
First horror movie I'm actually looking forward to seeing.
There you go.
And the fact that Sam Raimi is directing it, like,
right?
The man who, so horror, I'm not a big horror fan, but a few of the movies that I am a huge fan of are the Evil Dead movies, where it's like horror, but it's fun horror. Like they're fun and a little over the top and action oriented. And man, the fact that we get that guy, the Evil Dead guy, but also the Spider-Man guy directing the multiverse of madness. Okay.
Pretty awesome.
What else you got, Matthew Fox? Keep them coming.
So Sword, let's talk about Sword. A couple of people were asking, Melissa Khalil especially said, very suspicious. What are Hayward and Sword were planning for the 30 seconds we saw them? What were they gearing up for? And a couple other people said similar things. What were Hayward and Sword launching?
Yeah, we launched today is what he said.
An assault.
What are they launching?
I don't know.
I mean,
they even talk. Monica says he's willing to burn this whole place down to make you the villain. Like, is he willing to actually kill everyone in Westview to stop Wanda and then blame her for it? That seems, and he really just wants Vision back because apparently he was trying to bring Vision back online. They said.
Well, and so who are those troops that show up with the vehicle and the suit for Monica? If they're not working for Hayward, right? Who are they working for?
Well, she said that I'm not the only one that we're loyal to, or
your mom's not the only one we're loyal to. Yeah,
they were Maria loyalists. It seems like maybe there was like. I mean, it does. It seems like there was maybe
separatists within the Sword organization.
For real. Like you. I don't know why you're laughing. That seems like exactly what it is. It seems like
it feels like they're a government.
Yeah. They're a government agency, apparently.
Is it possible that is what Hayward meant, that they were gearing up for? Or do we think that has to be something different?
No. I absolutely don't think so. Because Hayward, Monica, last episode, Monica and Wu attacked some of the Sword agents because they were being taken into custody. Then she ran away to meet her friends who built her this thing. And they said, thank you. And she said, thank you for your loyalty. My mom would appreciate the loyalty. And she's like, your mom is not the only one we're loyal to. Like, these are separatists. These are literally like people who are going against Hayward, which is pretty crazy.
Nate Mosey says maybe they were the thing, that the Air Force team might be the Carol Corps from the comics.
Yeah. Because the people, was it Goodner was her name? The major that Captain Rambo was talking to, she had an Air Force uniform on, had Air Force patch and everything. So that's what Danvers was in, was the Air Force. Danvers and Rambo, Maria. So that could well be the Carol Corps. Oh, that would be so cool. That would be so cool.
I know you told me that the major symbol is on her hat, but it looks very similar to the Captain Marvel.
To Captain
symbol.
Marvel? Yeah, it does.
Like, it's almost the exact same symbol. So when I saw her, not knowing anything about the military, she has a symbol on her head that looks on her hat that looks almost exactly like
the star.
Yeah, the little star.
The star in the Captain Marvel.
The same, and I'm looking at them together now. They're the same number of points. It's the same shape, and depending on the version from comics and movies, like, it looks almost exactly the same.
They're very similar.
I think that might be a nod to the fact that this is Friends of Captain Marvel and Friends of Maria, but also it sounds like they're loyal to Monica as well.
But who's the engineer?
I don't know. It almost made me think that is the engineer, and that was a red herring. Like, this lady she met in the field might have been the engineer because they came and brought her the vehicle. But it does seem like maybe the vehicle was created by someone else. Like, she called someone, they created this vehicle.
And then sent it with this team?
Yeah. So are we going to meet the engineer is the question.
I don't know, man.
I want to know who the engineer is, but...
Like, show me Fastos. Show me.
Oh, Old Sauce says scrolls.
Maybe.
What if all of these people are Skrulls? What if they're like Sword separatists because they're literally like the Hydra within the shield of Sword, right? They're all
the
Skrulls.
Carol Corps.
Except
the Carol Corps is all Skrulls.
Yeah. Except in this situation, they are the protagonists. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What if Secret Invasion happens, but we're on the invader's side. You know what I mean?
Oh, shit. That could be fun.
That could be a lot of fun. It could be a really cool reworking of the comic, and it would match with what they've done with the Skrulls thus far. And we know already that like Fury and Maria were Skrulls. Like they could have Skrulls all through Sword.
Well, they were Skrulls in Far From Home.
Right. Sure.
Let's clarify.
Sorry, not all the time necessarily, but Maria could have been a Skrull this entire time, and we just never knew. It does seem that Fury, at least sometimes, is Fury.
Who's got my shoes?
Who's got my shoes? That's the best delivery of a line. I wonder if you improv that or if it's just so good.
So we had a couple of people asking about the commercial and how it just ties in, especially this idea of that you can choose your own reality. And does this seem to really tie into what you were saying, Jeff, about the Nexus and that we really are having a like multi-reality situation here?
Yeah.
It seems to be like it points to the nexus of all realities. It also like the ending line of the commercial where it said because the world doesn't revolve around you, or does it? Like that very much kind of points to her being a nexus being, where like pretty much she's the anchor for the reality, or she's kind of the anchor for mystical energy, especially within that reality. Like it kind of does revolve around her at that point.
Definitely.
But it could be, it could be a reference to both. It could be both of those things.
Well, certainly one thing that can happen a lot in like the language that gets talked about with depression, especially depression after grief, is the idea of like part of letting go of it is the idea of like, this isn't all about you, that like remembering that there's a larger perspective, and that one thing can happen is you start focusing like only on your own grief to the extent of like cutting out everything else that's happening and even what effect you're having on others around you, which is exactly what Wanda's doing. So there's a whole thing there as well.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I'm looking at some art of the Nexus of All Realities, and it's super freaking weird. Like it's that really like strange Kirby stuff, like we saw in when Doctor Strange went to bargain with Dormammu, and the Dark Dimension was all just like kinds of crazy shit. Like it's like that.
That makes sense.
It's like that.
What's interesting to me at this point is that we now have that Agnes has stepped in as Agatha, and it seems again to be pointing toward this mystical and Mephisto and all this stuff. But and in true MCU fashion, it still all could just be science stuff. You know what I mean? Like it still could just be the multiverse. And it could be that she pulled Pietro from the multiverse. It could be that she has some plan that has nothing to do with some mystical being, but has everything to do with the multiverse and like some sort of convergence happening or whatever. This could be anything in relation to, it still could be all science, which I love. One of my favorite shows is Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where this one group follows a religion, but they're also interdimensional beings. And it's like, is the religion real or is it interdimensional beings? And in reality, does it matter? And like, is there a difference? Is there any distinction if they're that powerful and they're all knowing and all powerful and is there a difference? And it's just super interesting to me. And I like that this my favorite universe, the MCU, is like walking that same line where we have all this stuff is going on, and it could seem mystical, but also it could just be science. It could just be that Hayward is messing with forces and about to like cause some sort of reality smashing thing, and Agatha's trying to stop it or whatever. It could be anything. I love that. I really love that.
Yeah. And as much as we feel like we got a lot of answers, we didn't really get all the answers. We still don't know like a lot of how this came to be, and a lot of how all of this. We don't know the backstory on Hayward with Vision. Like, what's Project Cataract, and how is he trying to get Vision back online? Like, what has happened? How far did he get, and things like that. Like, there's a lot of questions that we still have, even though we feel like we got a lot of answers on this one. Like, I'm satisfied with the amount of answers that we got on this episode. I feel good about this episode, but after the fact, like having sat with it a moment, it's like, okay, but I'm ready for more. Is it next Friday yet? Like, can we get to next Friday?
Yeah.
Can I go comatose for a week?
Yeah. Me too. I'm like, I just want to wake up right now and it be Friday. Okay, Matthew Fox, let's just be a quick speed round. We got to shut it down in just a couple minutes. So
Sure.
Speed round, anything else?
Zinthonian says, we now have 3 different colors of magic being used. Orange for Strange, red for Wanda, and although it's fake, green for Mysterio. And they're wondering if you think there's going to be more of this idea of like the correlation of colors to different kinds of magic.
Well, purple for Agatha.
Yep.
Today. So that's definitely. And it seems like a really interesting way to keep separating it out, and at least within each, you only have so many colors, so eventually they're going to have to start repeating things, but I do like that they've done that, using that clear language so far. And they also do things with shape as well. Like Wanda's tend to be have that swirly red around them.
Nebulous, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it seems that, if I'm remembering it correctly, it seemed like some of Agatha's magic there had like a smoky quality to it, on top of it having that swirly magic quality, like when it was sort of going in and out, which could point to Mephistork, or like the stork being partially her deal.
We did see the stork for like half a second during all the things fuzzing in and out.
It's like Mephistork confirmed.
Christy Hess, who's also continued to be very thankful for all the stuff we're doing, also asks, is there a chance we will get Vision back? I want him back so bad. I think what she means here is Vision just back in general in the MCU outside of this show. Do you think that happens?
Oh yeah, outside of the Hex. I mean, Darcy specifically said, I don't know why you can't leave the Hex. And that's a weird thing, right? Like it seems like it's like logically, if you look at it, it's Wanda doesn't want him to leave the little reality that has been created. But it could also be like, because he was pushing out of it and getting ripped apart back toward it, it could be that that's one of the conditions of this Hex being there, is that Vision has to stay there, because of some contract that she made with some person who makes deals like that.
Well, she also created the Hex purely for Vision, it seems like. So if she creates the Hex for Vision, maybe
if she created the Hex.
Right. But it seems like this world is constructed, or at least Vision's reconstruction seems like the reason she's doing all this. Like Vision being able to live. So it seems like the Hex exists, whether she created it or not. So the deal was made, or she just did it, or whatever, so that Vision could exist. So if the Hex goes away, it seems like Vision would go away. I have to fear, and I think it's very unlikely Vision's going to survive this season.
Oof.
But I want him to. I really want him to.
If Vision dies within the Hex, does the Hex collapse?
I don't know. I mean, if Wanda's doing it and she knows, probably she'll probably freak out and have that Ultron moment where she falls on her knees and everything around her is destroyed.
Yeah.
I feel like, given that so much of this story is about Wanda coming to terms with her grief, and especially if she does decide, like, I think it's possible that Peter stays back in some way or another. But if the story's about Wanda and her grief, if the end of the story is that her grief ends because he comes back, I don't know, that to me, it would just feel like it would undercut her whole story. Like, I like Vision as a character, but I feel like for Wanda's growth especially, let alone even the science of it, I feel like we're not going to see him outside the show. Right.
Like, the show is about her being willing to do horrible things to hold on to someone who she's lost. And if she actually gets to do that in the end, it does seem to be sort of a bad message to send to some degree. Like I think the lesson she has to learn at the end of this is she needs to let go.
Right. It's okay to hurt people as long as you get what you want.
Yeah.
That's what I'm picking up from the show.
I don't think this version of Vision will survive. I think it's possible they will somehow reboot him in the future. They will use just like Hayward was trying to do. I think it could be interesting if, like, this version of Vision goes, but then they're like, we were trying to revive him and we can still do it. And then they revive him and he's a version of Vision that does not love her, that does not have the same affection for her, is different.
Ooh.
what if they do have a version of Vision that they have created already that's like on a table or in a chamber, and he's like, we're launching today, and it's that we're launching that version of Vision, and that's White Vision.
Ooh.
You can go that direction, or somewhere in one of the Avengers towers, there's a Jarvis, and Wanda connects with Jarvis again. And that's like the since we know that like, and I think, didn't they specifically name drop in this episode that Vision was at one point Jarvis?
Yeah, he said my code dates back to an AI called Jarvis.
Yeah.
So what if we end up with not Vision coming back, but with Jarvis getting rebooted somewhere, and that's Wanda's like only connection to him?
Right. I could absolutely see like her holding on to that piece of him. Wanda gets a HUD. I really like what you said, Jeff, there about them launching today, and I think you got it. I think you landed on it. I think they're launching something based on Vision tech.
Put it on the board.
Yeah.
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board, because Hayward enters the story walking into a facility where they're like welding stuff, and he's talking about, we've switched to AI and nanotech and da-da-da-da-da.
And robotics. And then we know he's been working with Vision. He says he's launching today. And then it's like, what are we launching? It's got to be the thing that he's been working on this whole season, right? Ultron.
Oh yeah, or something like it. And maybe it will lead to Ultron in the future. I think introducing Ultron in the last 2 episodes of the story seems crazy, but something like that could absolutely be possible.
I don't know that Ultron would necessarily fit the magical mystical thing.
Could lay the ground for a future. What if Ultron shows up, but he is the vision of Ultron that Tony and Banner had? And like, what if he shows up and it is just like an actual, the good Ultron? And that lays the groundwork for a later bad Ultron maybe. But like the good Ultron shows up and they've given him the proper like Asimov rules of robotics, and he's good.
That's what Tony was missing. First, do no harm.
First, don't hurt a human.
Now, Matt, I know you're trying to wrap up, so I'm just going to drop this as something I think you guys should discuss for next Monday. A number of people have been asking, and this might be that frame-by-frame analysis. A couple people went back and checked during the chat and said they didn't see the purple light on Pietro during the stinger. And so there may be some questions. So I think that might be a good time for some, like on Monday's cast, do some frame-by-frame, because maybe he's not, and if so, that would totally break open the idea that he's still under Agatha's control.
I could be wrong. I really thought I saw that. I mean, I've only seen this thing once, so it's absolutely possible
Mandela
that
effect
I just missed
could
it.
be happening.
Let's do some sleuthing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty interesting. I really thought that I'd seen that. Maybe I'm just like absolutely, because I like, not only did I like think I saw it, but like I based my whole like theory on it that I was like, oh yeah, see, it's clear that Agatha's controlling him. So like, yeah, I'm actually watching it right now. But yeah, we do have to shut her down. Here it is. I have to drive to Dallas today. Oh yeah, you're right. I don't see the purple. The purple is all over everything else. It's all over the roots and things. It's even in there's purple flowers. There's purple roots leading down into the cellar. Her eyes look purple. Like I guess she's reading the spectrum.
Yeah, I think she's just seeing the spectrum.
Yeah, but that's cool though, because her eyes are purple, and when she turns around to him and her eyes are still purple.
Right. You know, that purple looked a lot like Black Panther's vibranium purple that was going on in the movies.
Yeah, it did.
That's possible.
It's just, like I said, there's only so many colors. They're gonna have to repeat.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily a connection.
It also looked like the purple of Mace Windu's lightsaber, which is also Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury. So
yeah,
multiverse
and
can
Nick
go
Fury's
really
currently in space, so
Mace Windu confirmed.
Space Windu,
Darth Harkness,
which is in space. A bunch of wizards. Oh my god, enemy wizards.
Darth Harkness. It's a thing.
We're going to shut down the podcast portion. We'll keep up the live chat for a little while. Please hang out, join us. If you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/MCUcast. You can support the podcast there. A lot of people have been joining that lately, and we really, really appreciate it. And we'll keep it coming. We're going to be here Monday for the live podcast again, Monday, 7 p.m. Central. Actually, we may try to move that. We'll let you know in the Stranded Panda chat and on strandedpanda.com /MCUcast. We'll keep that updated. But we'll be doing the live cast again Monday with the feedback episode, and we'll be back Friday for episode 8. We're so close to the end here. We're so close. I'm freaking stoked.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So we were talking about different magic colors be for different witches and whatnot. What if stones, like the Infinity Stones, those colors are the colors of magic that we've been seeing, and there's a powerful witch for each stone? Just a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I've heard a lot of that, like this is that color. There's just some multicolored things. It's got to be stones, but also like
there's only so many colors.
If that were the case, there's only so many colors, and if that were the case, I would think that Doctor Strange would have had green power instead of orange. He did
when he used the time stone.
Right, when he used the time stone. But I just feel like if he's going to have connection to a stone and use orange power all the time, it seems like he would be using the stone that he had possession of, right? Like it seems like that would correlate. But yeah, anyway, only so many colors in the world, I think is the real answer here.
I'm just going to point out that we've had years and years of speculation on the differences between blue and green lightsabers, and they originally changed the lightsaber color because it looked better against the sand of Tatooine in Return of the Jedi. So yeah, sometimes it's just for technical reasons.
Yes, there is such a thing as just people making art and making aesthetic decisions. I don't get that personally. Everything I do is like
there
methodical.
Are no coincidences.
All right. Before we go, Matthew Fox, what you got? Can tell people where they can find your stuff.
Yes, you can find me on Superhero Ethics or the Star Wars Universe podcast, 2 great podcasts. On Superhero Ethics, we've been talking about the Terminator and fate and the role of that kind of thing. On Star Wars Universe podcast, we just did a whole bunch of episodes about the Clone Wars, finishing up with a whole bunch of stuff about the dark side users outside of the Sith, the Night Witches, other cool stuff, Darth Maul, a lot of great stuff to check out. Please sign up for both of those podcasts. A lot of great content, and we will be having Matt Carroll on sometime soon on Superhero Ethics to talk about ethical questions from WandaVision. So definitely subscribe to both of those.
We've got an Ethics of WandaVision episode planned, and so just go right now to Superhero Ethics and subscribe so that when that pops, we're going to do it after the last episode so we kind of know what all happened. But if you subscribe now, you'll get that in your feed. Do that. Superhero Ethics is great. Well, that is going to be it for the podcast. Please join us at strandedpanda.com. Check out all the ways to join the community. Come to the live watches. Peace.
Until next time, true believers.
Thank you for joining us for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. Available everywhere you get podcasts, and now a video version streaming live on twitch.tv/strandedpandatv and available at youtube.com/strandedpanda. And if you'd like to learn more about all of our other podcasts, geeky projects, and ways to support the network, visit strandedpanda.com.